If you are looking for some ways to organize your family, I've got some ideas for you today. I'm Shayla. I'm a homeschool mom of 6 kids. If you are new to my channel, though, that is not all. I like to do a bit of a vlog style in my videos. So I'm also going to be sharing some self-care tips for moms. I will have a recipe for you and I will link to it on the blog. We have a homestead, so I will do a little chapter on homesteading in here and what's going on here at our homestead right now. And there will be a total of 8, unless I think of more, tips for organizing your family and home. I have lived in small homes, medium-sized, and now a larger home. So my experience organizing my family is vast. For most of our family's time and years, we have lived in small homes. Being a homeschool mom means my kids are here all the time, making messes and just living life. One of our personal challenges is having moved a lot in the last several years. When you move, you have to get to know the place you're in and find new systems that will work for that place. So I have quite a bit of experience in that. And today I'm just going to share with you some of the guidelines that help us to stay organized, even with a large family that is here 24/7. Entryways are really important to your home's overall organization because it's where, when you walk in the home, you usually have things to unload. And if you have a good entryway system, it can make a big difference in your home's overall organization. So this area is our entryway. This is where my purses go. In here, I have a shelf. We have got farm supplies since we have a farm. We have, a different level of disorganization that is constantly trying to take root. I'm sure for you, it's going to be something else. Maybe for you, it's kids and sports. Maybe it's something to do with your work and you have to come in the door with a bunch of work supplies or something. But having a place for those things or things that you are constantly needing when you go out or in is really helpful. When I had a tiny home, I did not have a place like that, so I had to create one. And the way I did it when we had a very tiny home was I had a hutch by the door. In fact, I still have one of the hutches. It's in my kitchen now. Having a hutch or just some area for the things that you need going in and out consistently. We have a large family, so we have shoes. This is where a lot of the kids' shoes are on this side because shoes are a big deal when you have kids and you're going in and out. You either have a shoe fortress blocking the door, which that happens, and I do have to remind the kids, pick up your shoes. But the thing is that it's easy for them to pick up their shoes and put them away because it's so close to where they go in and out and take them off and on. On top here, we have a basket for the keys. I have this very narrow wooden tray that my husband built, and it kind of hides things. Anyways, we have a knife that needs repairs here. You'll notice I like to keep this space fairly open to just drop things when we come in, and things get dropped here all the time. This is a basket to stick things in. It's empty right now. If there are things that need to go down the stairs, we can set them here. But I like to keep this fairly open and fairly clean because it is also what we see when we open the door, when we come inside. And I don't want it to be all messy and a slap in the face for guests or me when we walk in the door. By paying a little attention and putting some time into a functional entryway, I have found that it drastically reduces messes around the home. I also found that it does take some upkeep, paying attention to the entryway. So once or twice a week, it does need to be organized or decluttered and reorganized. But just having this nice entryway space or an entryway space to pile things when you come in makes it so that it's not piled elsewhere in a more inconvenient place like the dining room table or the kitchen counters. An
extremely simple yet effective way that so many people overlook in organizing their family is to have family meetings. Regular family meetings once or even better twice a week are just absolutely wonderful for getting everybody on the same page, heading in the right direction, and fostering togetherness and a real teamwork spirit. Everybody gets a voice at our family meetings. It's a time everybody can bring to the table things that they would like to see changed or that they have noticed need attention. Our family and life is so much more organized when we have regular family meetings. Before I continue, I would like to remind you that this video has lots of chapters, and I do have a complete homemaking section later on, as well as not one but two self-care tips. I was able to fit two in here, so stick through to the end. And if you're enjoying this so far, would you be so kind as to give this video a thumbs up and consider sharing it? This helps my channel out so much. Oh, and also, as you're watching this video, if you see that there is a tip that you have to keep your family organized that works like a charm, would you leave it in the comments below for myself and others? That would be amazing. Thank you. Something that completely revolutionized organization in our home is having binders. Basically, binders for systems. So a home management binder where we keep important documents and important things that we need on a regular basis. A cleaning binder with checklists. I have a farm binder since we have a farm. A homeschool planner binder. A family planner binder. And really the sky is the limit with these. Whatever you need, you can make into a binder with checklists. And whenever things seem to be falling apart somewhere, you can simply direct your family to the binder or go to the binder yourself to get back on track. Here's a little brief flip through of some of my binders so you can get an idea. And by the way, you can make these in Canva, customized completely to your needs. I will put some printable ones on the website for you too though.
Probably the number one solid tip that I have for organizing my family and feeling organized and staying on top of things is having a good planner. I was never able to find a planner that quite met a stay-at-home, work-from-home mom needs that also homeschools. So I designed my own. You can find them in my shop on my website. I have a homesteader's planner, a homemaker's planner, and a homeschool planner. In my planners, you will find lots of extra pages so that you can customize your planner. My planners are undated, and there's a very important reason for this. As a stay-at-home mom or a work-from-home mom, you might find oftentimes that things change, or sometimes you might not have a time to plan. Like you might go through a whole week where you just didn't have time to plan, okay? And that's wasted pages in those planners. So with my planner, it's undated so that there is no waste and so that it is more flexible in case you make a mistake. In my planners, you will find lots of extra pages so that you can customize your planner. My planners are undated, and there's a very important reason for this. As a stay-at-home mom or a work-from-home mom, you might find oftentimes that things change, or sometimes you might not have a time to plan. Like you might go through a whole week where you just didn't have time to plan. Okay, and that's wasted pages in those planners. So with my planner, it's undated so that there is no waste and so that it is more flexible in case you make a mistake. I also have some checklists that I have been working on for you. I will put all the information for the checklists below in the description. Having a set, solid time that you regularly do your planning helps. So I like to get up early on Sunday mornings. You could do any morning of the week though, whatever morning works for you. Just set aside some time to plan, and you basically set some goals that need to be done. Jot down any appointments that you have coming up. If sitting down and having a set time for planning doesn't work for you though, I recommend planning on the go. Some of us like to plan on the go, and I actually do a little bit of both. Sometimes I sit down to plan and my mind just goes blank. Not always. Usually it is not my most effective planning time. It's just the time where I can sit down, go over any appointments that I have coming up, jot down some goals for the week, but my best planning time is actually done on the go, where I am up, moving about the house, seeing what needs to be done. It's that time where, I have all of these things that hit my mind that, I gotta do that, and I gotta do that, and I gotta do that. So I write them down. I write them down so that they're not weighing my brain down. And that helps so much to stay organized, and also so that things don't fall through the cracks. My planner is actually more of a family planner. I have a page in the beginning where I have got a list. In one of my planners, it's called the brain dump section. In this planner that I use the Homemaker's Homestead planner that I have available on my website. In the Homemaker's planner though, I have a brain dump section where you can just list down everything that needs to be done, that hits your mind, that is weighing your brain down and is burdening you, that needs to be done. And you can just write it all down. Anybody in the family can tackle it. On this planner that I have, the Homestead Homemaker's planner, it's called Things That Need to Be Done Around the Homestead. And it even says anybody in the family can pitch in. Okay, regular days here, I have home to-dos and farm to-dos. Again, anybody in the family can pitch in.
A family command center for important things is super helpful. There are a variety of ways to help the family know what's going on. There's chalkboards, whiteboards, all kinds of options, but having a central place that people pass by daily to have the most important things that need to be remembered and not forgotten is a very effective way to make sure important things are remembered. There's a variety of ways that things like this can be utilized though. You can use something like this just for categories of things that need to be done around your home. Having the most important tasks around your home in a place where it's obvious front and center, where it can't be missed and it can't be forgotten, is definitely something I recommend. We love a chalkboard just like this in plain sight, and it is what all of the farm chores are on. I found this secondhand. We found that having the chalkboard kind of front and center in our dining room in a very obvious place where we see it daily is the best way not to lose farm animals because somebody forgot to feed their pet. By the way, if you have a chalkboard, these chalk markers work the absolute best. Much better than actual chalk. When you have children, one of the biggest ways that you can organize your family is to teach your children habits and start giving them some age-appropriate chores early on. Teaching your children to be more independent and instilling good habits will go such a long ways in the long run. One of the ways that I do that is with my chore card systems. These are wonderful for introducing your children to chores and instilling good habits in them starting at an early age. These are very customizable. You only print the chore cards and the habit cards that you want to use for your family. A couple of the habit cards included are pickup times. So twice a day we do like a 10-minute to 15-minute, depending on how bad it is, pickup time where we all run around, pick up after ourselves. So we like to do this right before lunch and pick up a bunch of our school book. And then we like to do this after school. This goes a long ways in keeping the house much tidier than it would be if we didn't do this. So usually in our home, this is done as I'm making lunch for the kids, and then again after school, right around the time I'm getting ready to start dinner. By the way, this is totally a bonus tip, another bonus tip I've got too in this video, but a major way we stay organized as a family is by loosely menu planning. So I like to make up menu plans. You could even find some of them for sale on my website. I like to have these menu plans in my planner at all times so that if I hit a meal planning mental wall, I've got that where I can just look at and there's a whole bunch of ideas that I can make that are easy. But another way I keep things really simple when it comes to meal planning and meals is I just make extra. I never cook up enough for just one meal. I always make up enough for multiple meals. And I love putting some away in the freezer too. Soup is great to do this with. Here I'm making a pea soup. It was so good. I will put the recipe on the blog for you as soon as I possibly can. I go through phases of following meal plans. When things are more organized and running smoothly, I love having the menu plan. But when things are a little more chaotic, what I like to do is something you can do too, and it will create a lot more peace and order in your home when it comes to meals and keeping meals organized. It is to shop your pantry, shop your freezers at the beginning of the week or once a week, whenever works. And when you're shopping your freezers and your pantries, pull out food. Pull out a few different meats to thaw in the fridge for the week ahead. As you shop your pantries, look for things that need to be used first and jot them down to use for the week. If you're going to do a big decluttering day, it's really nice to have a meal plan prepared in advance, or at least planned out in advance. Okay, before I continue, there's something incredibly special I found that I've got to show you, and I am not affiliated with this company. I get nothing for sharing this with you. But do you have problems with sibling squabbles in your home? We're so fortunate we don't have that problem in our home. Ha. Seriously, we do. So when I saw these, I was all over them. Well, let me tell you what they are.
I am not affiliated with this company, but I wanted to show you this anyways. I can't remember what these are called. I will put them in the description area below. I'll put a link to them too. But these are cards to help your kids get along better, and they're beautiful. They're absolutely stunning. My kids love to look at the pictures on the front, and then on the back they have a Bible verse and an encouragement on getting along. On this one it says, "Finally all of you have unity of mind, sympathy, brotherly love, and a tender heart and a humble mind." 1 Peter 3:8. And then it goes into an encouragement lesson. God wants us to love one another with tender hearts. A tender heart is a soft heart. Have you ever felt something soft? It's squishy, safe, and comfortable. What about something hard? A hard heart isn't fun to be around. God has a soft heart toward us, so we should have a soft heart toward our siblings. And then it has an action, and the action is, how can you help your sibling feel safe and comfortable with you? How can you love them with a soft heart? Since my kids are always around each other, and we are, a larger homeschool family and always living in the same house and always together. Sometimes they don't always get along. Let me rephrase that. Often they don't get along. So I have to work with them continually and remind them, could you please say that the way you should have said it the first time? That's a very common phrase around here. But these cards are helpful to reinforce and just teach them how God wants them to be with each other.
I want to tell you how I organize my paper clutter. This isn't my tip though, so I'm going to refer you to where I learned how to do this. I saw a video by the Minimal Mom, Dawn. It was an excellent video on how to organize paper clutter. She talked about having a home management binder, which is something I've had for around 10 years now, but she took it several steps further and incorporates 3 or 4 other paper organization methods. And I do not want to take credit for those methods, so I'm just going to refer you to her video. I'll link to it in the description below for you. My 7th tip. All right, we hear a lot about decluttering, but how many of us are teaching our families how to declutter? I've been teaching my children how to sort through all the clothes that they've outgrown, select only the best that don't have holes or stains, and donate them. I'm also teaching them how to donate their toys that they no longer want that are not broken. We donate ours to Goodwill, and the kids absolutely love to do this because they get a coupon to use whenever they donate, which is wonderful incentive for helping kids to stay organized on their own initiative and own responsibility. By the way, right now you're looking at scenes of my children's room all organized, but I'm going to show you what it looks like before we organize it this time. And I will do that with tip 8, so don't go anywhere because you do not want to miss tip 8 because it pertains to children's rooms and helping children stay organized. But before I give you the 8th tip, I would like to encourage you with today's devotional. I have some really neat Bible verses I found that pertain to organization. Have you ever wondered why organization matters to you so much and why disorganization makes you feel so scattered? Well, before we go on, let me share today's devotional with you. In 1 Corinthians 14:33, it says, "For God is not a God of disorder, but a God of peace." And in Genesis 1:26 through 27, it says that we are made in the image of God, meaning that we are created to reflect God's characteristics. And back to 1 Corinthians 14, we read that God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. I think this could possibly be why, when we are walking with the Lord, we crave order. It would seem, on the other hand, that our families don't. So what does that mean? Well, personally, I don't think it's that they don't crave it. I've noticed that when my children's rooms are tidy, when the house is more put together, when everybody can find what they're looking for, everybody is happier. Everybody's more peaceful. I've noticed with my kids, when their room is a disaster, they tend to stay away from their room. When I go help them clean it out, if they are too young to know how to do it themselves, I've always noticed that for like a week or two after, they gravitate to spend more time in their room. It's like they like it then. They want to be in their room more. Whereas when it's disorganized, they're repelled by it and they're just crankier and seem to have less peace. I know there's exceptions to every rule when it comes to husbands too, though, but generally speaking, it just doesn't seem like kids and husbands know how to create an organized home. Quite honestly, learning how to be organized does take time and it does take dedication to learn. Some people are a little bit more natural about it, but others have to learn how to be organized. We have to learn different techniques and watch videos like this. Personally, I've had to watch a lot. I have ADHD, so I have a constant drive towards disorganization, and I have to go back after and put things back together because I truly hate disorganization. But because I have ADHD, I can be a little bit scattered at times. So I've had to teach myself organization and how to be tidy. At the same time, I've learned that communication is critical when you have a family. I also believe that as we learn organization skills and tidiness skills, we're supposed to be teaching these to our family because at some point, as our family grows, we're not going to be able to keep up. And I definitely don't believe that being a keeper of the home means being a maid. Otherwise, that's what the verse would have said in Timothy, where women are commanded to be keepers at home. In times past, I've had some women try to tell me that I just have to embrace the messes. Let it not get to me while I'm raising children. I did try it at one point. It was an older woman that I thought was a Titus 2 woman that was telling me this. And in many aspects she was, but she did not have the experience of raising multiple small children. And the whole experiment ended very poorly. It just flat out did not work. In fact, I realized it was very dangerous. There's a balance to be had when it comes to home organization and tidiness. It's kind of a balance between obsessive, compulsive, overlord mom, striving towards organization, and being relaxed enough to have a cozy home that people feel comfortable in and safe in. So before I go on, there is something I need you to see. I'm going to show you some clips of how bad our house gets at times and how frustrating it is for me. And this is the real truth. What you're looking at is some real life clips of what our house looks like at least once, twice, sometimes 3 times a day. And depending on the season of life we are in, for example, if it's harvest time or if somebody's sick, or if we have a sick animal, or if life happens, this is what our house ends up looking like. 8 people are living in this house, and each and every one of them have lives. Half the time I walk into a room and I have no idea what I'm looking at, where certain things came from. Like, look at this stick. A kid brought this in the house. I have no idea why they brought it. It's more like a log. It's like a small log they brought into the house. Why? I don't know. I honestly do not know. My oldest high schooler, she is about to graduate, but for some reason she likes to bring every single one of her school books into the dining room where they just kind of live, and it's frustrating sometimes. Over here we have a mess that some kids made. We've got a jar full of nothing. It looks like it had relish in it, but somebody didn't want to put it away. And we have an old vest over here, markers, nail polish. I have no idea what this thing is. It's one of my boys. It's not a flashlight. I don't know. know. I don't know what this thing is. We got cards. It's a mess. Now, I try really, really hard to make my house look tidy for my videos. I notice that the people that do that have remarkably high views and, of course, are making a good amount of money by showing perfect homes. But alas, that's just not something the Lord has set aside for me. This is what the house propels to looking towards. But the good news is it's not hard to put back together. In fact, when we all set our hand to it to put the house back together, it takes us maybe 30 minutes to an hour because our home does have an underlying baseline of organization because of these principles and these tips that I have shared with you so far today. It does not look perfect all the time, but we are able to get it put back together in a short amount of time. And I feel like that's what matters most, not to have a magazine picture perfect home, but to have a functional home where you know where everything is, you can find it, and where the home works for you instead of the other way around. And I do believe we do have that. Not magazine perfect, but the home works for us versus us working for the home. I think a really balancing perspective is to remember that yes, God is a God of order and we need to clean up after ourselves, but also to remember Proverbs 14:4, where it says, "Where no oxen are, the crib is clean, but much increase is by the strength of the ox." And by that, I take it to mean that sometimes productivity is in making a mess. But let's clean it up when we're done. And on that note, this brings me to my last tip. I have read multiple studies on the effects of clutter and disorganization and hoarding and mess and how it affects the brain and causes anxiety and depression, especially in children. So my 8th tip is to teach your children organization. It takes time for them to learn how to be organized and how to organize their things. If you leave them to their own devices, they will completely demolish their rooms and never want to be in them. They won't get any joy out of their toys. I was just listening to a pediatrician talking about this. It's Ask Bubby on Instagram. She's a grandmother and a pediatrician, and she was talking about how it's actually important that kids have their toys organized. If they're not, then they're all in one big pile and they don't want to play with them. It's also overwhelming when you tell them, go pick up your toys in your room or go pick up your room. I mean, how many times have your kids had a meltdown when you simply told them, go clean your room? Well, it's because you need to show them how to do it. They don't usually know how, and it can take them a long time to learn how. They see this one big mess in their room and you tell them to clean it up, and in their mind, how are they going to clean all of this up? You know, they liken it unto picking something up, putting it away, all at the same time. They don't see it as steps of action. They see it as all one big thing they must tackle, which is impossible. Henceforth, the meltdown. So you have to help them. You have to teach them how to be organized. Sometimes you have to break it down in steps for them, but it is important that they learn how to do this. Because if they don't, they will have disorganization into adulthood and perhaps their entire life. And with that comes all the frustrations of disorganization. One of the problems that parents face when they have lots of small children is a lot of parents don't always have like a big home. They have smaller homes because most people with small children are just getting started out in life. Hence, they're renting or they have smaller areas to organize their children in, and that's a challenge. It's a challenge I have a lot of experience in. At one point, we had 5 children and we're living in less than 1,000 square feet of space. 4 of my children were in one small room. It was a daily battle, but I did come out of it with a couple organizing tips for clothing that I will share as kind of a bonus organization tip for children's rooms today.
I've been reorganizing my boys, 2 of my younger boys' bedroom, or helping them get it organized, the clothing they need help with, and we needed some more of these bins for their clothes. I'll show you guys the whole system in a minute, but if you don't do dressers for your kids, I've never had luck with dressers. My kids tear them up. The drawers for dressers get torn apart in no time. I like going with things like this that are cheaper, that I can replace easily, that are more durable. So I buy these and we use them on shelves, is the way I do it, and it's way more affordable and there's just a lot more longevity you get out of it. So what I like to do is I just write what goes in the basket. So we're gonna say shirts, And up here in this spot, or you could put it anywhere, but right here I think is a great spot to put it. I write their name. So the child's name is gonna go up here. And I use these chalk markers. I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can't see it very well. But they're just these chalk markers that I get off of Amazon. They're a liquid chalk and you shake it and they work really well, especially on the black. I'll show you the whole system though. I'm wearing a hat, by the way, because I've got hat hair. This is the system. I don't have the names on here yet for my kids' privacy, but you can see they've got shirts, pants, and so I'll put their names on it so they know who's here. These are also stackable, and you can turn them on their side and stack them as well, but I have them in here like this. This room has just been a nightmare for days. We've got a holy sock here. I keep telling the boys clean it up, and then they did, and I come and I check it, and it hasn't been. So I'm gonna have to help them because I don't think they know how to get it the rest of the way organized.
So many viewers that are mamas have asked me, how do you deal with the overwhelm? First off, I want to say there is such a thing as noise pollution. You can look it up. When you're around kids all day, they're usually talking. They're not very quiet a lot of times. And by, the end of the day, or even halfway through the day, you find your brain is just not functioning as well because of the noise. And you're also tired. I have found that the older I get, the more that this affects me, or if I'm in a stage where I have little babies. And lately, as I'm going through perimenopause, it's been bad again. These help. I get them from Azure Standard, and I definitely notice a big difference when I'm taking these. Another thing that I find helps so very much is taking breaks. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know I harp on this all the time. Take a break, take a coffee break, or take a tea break, and you need more than one. If you were going to any job outside the home, they would be giving you breaks if you were doing 10 or 12-hour shifts. Well, here as stay-at-home moms, you're on 24-hour shifts, and how often do we give ourselves breaks? It's just silly. Before I became a stay-at-home mom, I worked multiple different jobs, and I'd never had one where they were not giving breaks. It's actually illegal in a lot of states for employers not to give their employees breaks. So as a stay-at-home mom, as your own boss, you need to learn to give yourself breaks. I like to take a tea break. This is a tea I started drinking lately. It is made with hops, hibiscus, lilac, and sometimes I put a little rose hip in there. It is super relaxing and just super calming. I love it. By the way, if you love teas too, check out my herbal tea book on my website. It's an ebook you can download with 17 different tea recipes in it. And as I'm looking at the seat, I remembered I had hops and chamomile for relaxation. If you make this tea though, don't put too many hops in because they can get a little bit bitter if you put too many in.
Just a little heads up, St. Patrick's Day is this month. If you go to the blog now, you will find my corned beef recipe. It's something you need to start 1 to 2 weeks in advance. So I have the recipe up there ahead of time. I'm hoping to have how to make it in next week's video, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up ahead of time that that recipe is coming in an upcoming video, and the recipe is already on the blog. Making your own corned beef, if you plan to make corned beef or like corned beef, is much better for you than the kind from the store, because the kind from the store usually has nitrates in it. So I'm going to teach you guys how to make it nitrate free.
A wonderful and fun springtime soup that we've been enjoying lately is split pea soup. I hated this growing up. I don't know what changed, but now I absolutely love it. It is super simple to make and easy to make in a flash. I'm sure you can find dozens of recipes online, but I will have mine on the blog. Little hot tip here. If you've got kids or people in the house that don't like the split pea soup, maybe make some chili off to the side so people have a choice between the split pea soup and the chili. I have some news about next week's video. I'm going to do 2 for you. I'm going to do one with some St. Patrick's Day homemaking and recipes for you, and I will also have a recipe where I'm revamping our laundry room and I'm sharing some laundry tips that will work for any sized family and just help to simplify your laundry routine. So come back next week for 2 videos. We will see you then. Thank you for watching to the end.